What's up, Staten Island? It's time for more Tough Talk. That's right, the baseball season is underway in Staten Island, underway in Major Leagues, as we mentioned with Coach Morrow, who was nice enough to join us last time. Joining me right now, of course, sipping on his water, getting ready for his morning run over at the with the U Factor Media bottle. I love it, the little thermos there, brother. Chris Reyes, how you doing today, brother?
Good morning, Todd, on this beautiful rainy Sunday in Staten Island. I'm excited to be here, bro.
Yeah, man. I mean, we can't get a break with this weather. It's been pretty miserable the past few days, except for the other day, which was when we were supposed to talk to Chris
Yeah,
on Friday or Thursday.
yeah, the day we
And
went to St. Peter's Moore, the weather was great. I think it was like 72 with a
yeah,
breeze. Other than that, it's been kind of terrible.
I know Sacho Little League kicked off yesterday with their parade
Hmm.
in Tottenville. I think Snug Harbor kicked off. A bunch of Little Leagues kicked off this weekend to some questionable weather. But regardless, the CSI Dolphins, who we will be covering throughout this baseball season on the Tough Talk podcast, had a doubleheader that lasted a long time. And they were up against Mercy, I believe it was, Chris,
That's right.
and it was a marathon, absolute marathon. But here we are. This is the Tough Talk podcast. Todd Bivona, Chris Reyes over there. This is thanks in part to your friends at Tough Media, powered by Metro United Sports Unlimited, uniting through sports. And what we're going to do, we've already previewed the entire high school season on Staten Island. We spoke with Coach Mike Moore from the CSI Dolphins. And now, Chris, we're going to talk to Chris Polemeni,
Yes,
who
sir.
is a St. Peter's High School graduate. So obviously a friend of ours, friend of the program. Coach Bobby Glenister had the privilege of coaching Chris. And Chris, if you could speak to his high school career real quick before we bring him on.
Yeah, Chris was a hardworking kid, not far off from what he's doing in college. Was always a threat in the lineup. Also believe he was pitching a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, or that might have been his brother. But he was dangerous in the lineup, Todd. What you see at CSI is what you had in high school in travel ball. From what I remember, him growing up, same exact thing. He was always the threat in the middle of the lineup. And it's exciting to see him grow from being a little kid through high school now into college and absolutely tearing it up for the Dolphins right now. And it's fun to watch, Todd.
Yeah, and we spoke with Coach Bobby Glenister, of course, and said he was one of the best to coach for, to coach with, and a great man, not just in between the white lines, but also outside as well, and a true team leader who had a great career over at St. Peter's. Also had a great freshman campaign, but and we're going to get into some before we get Chris on. Chris Reyes, I think it's important we wrap up the week that was in Staten
Yes,
Island baseball specifically and beyond, Chris, right? Because we're going to be reaching all five boroughs, even New Jersey, right? Because we have
absolutely.
a lot of contests. And I remember when I played, Chris, and you're going to hear us reference when we played a lot. But even when I graduated Tottenville, and Chris Polemeni might not even know this, when I graduated Tottenville in '03, when we won the city championship. Prior to that, in the preseason, we played a bunch of New Jersey schools.
Yeah.
So plenty of
Tierney
great.
prided himself on that. I remember playing Don Bosco back in the day and Tom's River East and North, I believe it was. But
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, nothing's really changed on Staten Island. We typically try to seek out the best competition, Todd, and schools like St. Joseph by the Sea, uh, St. Peter's, Tottenville, so on and so forth. They're continuing that tradition, and I think it's really great for youth baseball because I think it allows Staten Island kids to get their name on the map for some nationally ranked teams, and we saw that this week. So I'm excited to talk about that.
That's right. So we should wrap up a little bit what has happened. We had a no hitter on Staten Island from a very familiar school from St. Peter's. Tottenville was in action. What can you say about what you saw this week, Chris?
Yeah, so I went over to the C Poly Prep game. Justice Zhang is a Duke commit. He obviously pretty much dominated on the mound. He was like 89 to 92, 93. Might have touched a 94 if I'm not mistaken. But St. Joseph by the Sea hung in there, man. They were, you have to remember that he's a potential draft prospect, Todd. So you have sophomores and juniors on the team that are that's a bit much for a kid, throwing,
Yeah.
that's throwing 92, 93 miles per hour. But they hung in there. I believe it was 1-1 up until the fourth or fifth inning. And then Polly kind of turned it up. But specifically one C, St. Joe's by the Sea player Nick Zarsky hit an absolute laser off of Justice to right field, one hop the right field fence, and
Ooh.
they were pretty pumped up when that happened. Unfortunately, they couldn't pull it out, Todd, but it was fun to watch, see competing at that level.
Yeah, and the Peters. I want to make sure I get his name correctly. St. Peter's senior Eddie Rethorn was the one that tossed the no-no for the
Yeah,
Eagles in a 2-0 contest over at Mid Island,
yeah.
which definitely was probably cool for our guest to find out about and watch. So let's get right to it. Some stats for our guest, Chris Polemeni. He's an outfielder. He's a pitcher, 6 foot, 200 pound sophomore, 23, St. Peter's grad. At the time of this recording, he was announced as the East Coast Conference Player of the Week on March 31st. He was 4 wins for the Dolphins that week here. He batted .474, 3 home runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 8 RBIs with 10 runs scored, 4 walks, and 4 stolen bases. First of 3 multi-hit games was on Wednesday against Bluefield, reaching base 4 times with 2 RBIs. And then he had an amazing 4 for 4 day, 5 ribeye steak sandwiches against Queens. Third player in CSI program history, Chris, to hit 3 home runs in a game. Which, by the way, is this a misprint? 28 for 28 stolen base attempts last year, Chris Reyes.
I'm almost positive that's correct, but when we get him into the show, I would love to confirm that, Todd, because that's pretty impressive, especially at the Division II level. So let's confirm that when he gets into the show.
Chris, is that correct?
Yes, correct. That was the I broke the stolen base record last year.
That's
Oh
awesome,
my
Chris. Jeez.
goodness, man. Chris,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us, man. Congratulations on the accolades from last week and to your success up to this point, my man. God, 28 for 28. That's pretty impressive. What are you doing for
It
your
was just
quickness
it was just a
regimen?
great year on the bases. I was confident. I was doing that. I learned we looked into as a program with Marty, our outfield coach, about the Volts deal, what Volpe was doing with the
Mm,
Yankees.
Which
You
is
read,
what is that, my brother?
you kind of just read the pitcher
Okay,
on when he's delivering the ball, how many looks, and you start to shuffle. And if you have the timing down right, you just get to a head start and you clear the
it's
bag
kind of like
easy.
a momentum lead, right, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
impressive.
this year I think I have maybe 10 or 11, but last year was just I was always on bag by myself. There was no one in front of me and I was just going.
and what are you doing for quickness? I mean, quickness. Have you always been fast, Chris?
No, I haven't always been quick.
Okay.
Severio Nardone came in this year actually and got everyone a lot more flexible. I was a very tight kid in high school because I was trying to put on muscle,
Oh,
trying to get looked at. So, and then after college, when I got to college and I realized I was too stiff, that's when I started to lean down a little bit, get more
nice.
flexible.
Chris, what are some things that Coach Nardone are doing in the offseason to help? Think about it like this, like a young Chris Polemeni's watching this right now, and he's kind of asking himself, like, what can I do in the offseason, right? Um,
Yeah.
what did you guys do? Was it certain plyometrics, box jumps,
Oh
deadlifts?
man, it's great
Speaking
what he
to a
came
little
in
kid right
last year.
now, if you can.
Great
It's
question.
great what he came in and did this year. He came in, and a lot of us were confused. We're like, "What is he putting us through?" The first day, he put us through like a 45-minute yoga flow,
Hmm.
Yoga
and
flow.
in the moment, we're like, "Yo, this is a lot. Like, we're about to go to practice." But we got to practice that day, and you never felt better in your life.
That's great.
So we told him that, and then we started doing it 3 times a week. We started doing it Tuesday, Thursdays, and then Saturday mornings at 7 a.m.
So those little movements really made a difference for you.
Yeah, he used to be a
Stabilization, that
yoga
type of stuff.
instructor. He used to be a yoga instructor, so he brought all that into CSI this year.
That's cool.
And knock on wood, but last year we had maybe 10 to 12 injuries. This year we don't have one injury.
That's how
Wow.
you know you're doing it right. And I was actually
Yeah, he
with Coach Nardone at the ABCA, and he was telling me I think this is in January, in Washington, D.C. And he was talking about the stuff that you guys were doing. And my background is in strength conditioning, Chris, and I knew this was going to be beneficial. It was going to lower injuries, the chance of injuries, and increase speed. So it's good stuff, man. That's
Yeah.
the little stuff that kids need to do. Not to get off topic, Todd, but
No.
that's the difference maker sometimes, the little things. It's not always deadlifting 800 pounds and bench pressing. I don't know if Chris, if you can talk to that a little bit, but how that made such a difference in your year.
Oh, it was great. I mean, last year I struggled with a lot of tightness because I lift during the season 4 times a week, and I really was not very educated on what I should change during the season with the jump from not playing. Now you're playing 5 games a week. So
Mm,
he taught us a lot about that on which movements to do. And he really told us to keep everything functional and
that's awesome,
very
man.
just don't single out any part of your body when you're going to work out that day. So it
Smart.
can't be too sore when even 3 days from now when you're playing a game. So now he really emphasizes on going through like whole body flows during the season and stretching every day. He still tells us every day
That's
to make
awesome.
sure you stretch. I brought his yoga flow that he puts us through. I do it every day before the gym now. When I work out, I
Wow.
do his yoga flow.
That's sweet.
That,
Cool stuff.
Chris Reyes, I think it's all very relevant. We talk tough here. Tough talk includes everything. It includes the,
It does.
we have such a great athlete at our disposal to be able to talk to who's giving us his time. And Chris, again, thank you for the time today in advance here. But I think it's great to have a discussion about that. Sure, we want to hear about how his season's going and what's going forward, but I think he's a wealth of information. And I think that's great for you to share that because I've never heard of that. And I think that's something I wish I was able to get and listen to, like you're saying, Chris Reyes. Younger kids who are watching this understand that there's a lot more to the game. And it's the little things that Chris Polemeni's doing that makes sense, Chris.
That's right. And I think
So,
it's really important, Chris, with your platform, being a college athlete, obviously growing up on Staten Island, a lot of kids are going to listen to this, and um, the education of what you said for younger coaches and kids could be really beneficial. You may not know that yet, but it's going to be very important, man.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
appreciate that.
And Chris, if I may go back, I said I wanted to get to know you a little. Let's go back to your Peters days and Coach Bobby and working hard and building muscle back in the day. Give me a couple highlights from your Peters career, and then we'll get into making fun of Coach Bobby a little bit.
Okay. Well,
I'm in on that.
I didn't start at Moore. I went to Moore.
Oh, sorry,
I didn't start at Peters. I went to Moore for 2 years.
more. Okay, my fault. See,
Then
I don't know
COVID
you.
hit. Yeah. Then COVID hit, and then Defender said he was leaving. So I didn't know what was going on. My brother was gonna come to Peters with me, but my parents wanted them to graduate together. My sister and him and Moore. So he stayed. I only had one other kid with me at the time, my class playing baseball, and the school had no idea who was coming in. Later, like 2 weeks after I officially transferred, Keenan Tingos came in. So, but I was already left. I didn't know anything. So I transferred to Peters. I called Bobby up. Bobby seen me in the summer.
Okay,
And so when I called him, he knew I moved to Peters. So he took me right into school.
that's
And
great.
when I got there, I loved it right away. I loved Bobby. I loved everything about the school. And I loved
Some
how
key,
the whole school was like a family. I went in there and they took me right in, everybody. So
That's awesome.
it was great.
real quick, Chris. Some key memories or some big memories from your time at Peters, if you would.
um,
Put you on the spot, Chris.
Yeah, and listen, doesn't have to be
the
baseball
best
related
the
either.
best one I can remember is when it was Peters, Farrell, and C, and we were all competing for the Island Championship.
Okay,
We were all tied in standing, so the coaches went on Zoom and they picked a name out of the hat to get a bye. So the other two teams had to play us, and we ended up getting picked out of the hat. So C and Farrell had to play that day in the rain.
Oh man.
It was a doubleheader, so they had to play us in the rain. It was raining in the early morning. Then they had to play us right after. Ended up It stopped raining when we were playing, so they had to play the whole game in the rain. Farrell beat C, and then we ended up beating Farrell for the Island Championship. But then
And
C
that
later
was
went
the
on
first
to.
one in St. Peter's history, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because it
Yes,
was
I believe so. Yeah,
yeah, that was cool. I remember that.
but that was a great day.
all right. That sounds like a pretty good memory that you got there. What are some things from Coach Bobby? We want to poke fun at Coach Bobby and all of his faults and how much we love him. But what are some things you took away from Coach Bobby and the rest of the coaching staff at Peters
And
that
Chris, just so
really?
you know, he can't make you do sprints. He
That's right.
can't make you run steps.
He's got no say anymore, bro.
He's zero
That's it.
say, so just
Yeah.
let it rip, man.
Yeah. What good did
Bobby
he do,
actually
or
is
what was his detriment?
Bobby's actually very relatable as a coach. He wouldn't just tell you to do things; he would kind of show you and put into his perspective sometimes on what was going on. He was never very tell like do this, do that, and that's what I liked about him a lot. He he would criticize you, but it would be in a very good way where you can't take it very personal. He would never get personal, but he would know how to get to you if you were lacking or whatever. He would know right to get to your soft spot and just flip a switch in you. And that's what I
And
liked about
That's
him.
right.
and how many times did he come up limping and pull up lane because he pulled a hammy because he's old and out of shape when he was trying to do
Oh
he was
man,
Oh
trying
man.
to steal
taking
bases with
shots
you,
at coach.
you know?
Yeah. He would try to do sprints sometimes or throw a bullpen out of nowhere, and he would complain about his
Hey,
arm.
listen, guys. I played with Coach at CSI. I've played with a lot of the coaches around Staten Island, and I know it doesn't seem like it anymore, Todd and Chris, but some of the coaches on Staten Island were pretty damn good players, man. From
Oh
Ray
yeah.
Smith to Bobby Mulligan.
Oh
I mean, the
sure.
list goes on and on. It doesn't look like it anymore, right, young fellas? But uh, don't sleep on Coach Bobby. Don't
That's
sleep
right.
on Coach Mulligan. Don't
Of
sleep, man.
course.
They were dudes back in the day. Super athletic.
And someone who's a dude right now at CSI, Chris, you had a great freshman campaign where you already touched on the stolen base record. You had some great pops, some great numbers, average home runs. What were you doing freshman year that was working out so well at the dish and also in the field? Looks like your game was pretty solid.
Yeah.
What really helped you hone in on your craft and hit for average the way you were?
Yeah, so I went to LIU my freshman year, and I came back home. But at LIU, I was struggling a lot with the bat because I was more of a power hitter, and I was very long, and I realized that. So when I came to CSI, I shortened my swing up because I knew I was a strong kid and I really didn't have to do too much. And it was one day I was working with Leno, and he just realized this little hitch. I never seen it before, but he's seen this little hitch I do in my swing before I actually swing the bat. It's like I load and then I do a little hitch and then I go
Hmm.
again.
Huh.
And he realized that and he put me through a drill, and it was the weirdest thing ever. I just reversed my top hand
Okay.
and you stayed back and you just pushed. You almost like you're pushing with your top hand. And
Hmm.
after that, before we left for Myrtle Beach last year, I was lost in my swing. And I worked with Lena for like 2 days, and I ended up going to Myrtle Beach that week and batting like 9 for 14.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and from there on, man, like my swing changed. I was very short. People relate me to Mike Trout sometimes with my swing. I'm very tall and just
Yeah.
short to the ball. So yeah, Leno, it's great working with Leno. He's, in my opinion, he's one of the best hitting coaches in the Northeast.
Yeah,
Wow.
I would agree. And if you know anything about Coach Leno's playing career, he's one of the best hitters I've ever played with, Chris. So you're learning from a really good
Yeah.
one. And going back to your point, not only was he a good hitter, but he also communicates hitting well, which is very hard because I work with hitters and you could be saying the correct stuff to somebody, and if they don't take the information in and actually
Right.
utilize it, the information was useless. So he's a great communicator, a great coach to your point, and he lived it too, which is really important.
Sure. Wow, big shout out to Coach to Tommy Leno here, friend of the program, friend of Metro United Sports Unlimited, who is powering this little show here, Tough Talk. Once again, Chris Reyes, if you're just tuning in, that's Chris Polemeni, who is on CSI, sophomore, who had a very long day. By the way, we began the podcast by talking about a long day he had on Thursday. It was right, Chris.
Yes.
Is that one of the? Yeah. So you had the doubleheader versus Mercy. Talk about that a little bit. That was a marathon. Woo.
Oh, that was a crazy day. First game we ended up going down 7-0. And some of the problems with our team in the past, in the beginning of the year, was like once we went down like that, our energy just shot. And Mora
Yeah.
started to talk about that. And we would all realize it. Like even when we went down 2 runs, it was like, oh, we lost again.
Yeah.
Mm.
but there was just something in the air that day, and we came out. I mean, I think it was in the second inning or third inning. We scored 6 runs,
Jeez.
and then we put up a 0. We scored another 4, and we just ran with the lead that game. And it got close towards the end. But, Jack Kehoe started pitching out of nowhere, and he shut the door. So,
And then the
Yeah, you
second
guys
game.
have the luxury to do that, Chris. It's Todd, they have some of the top hitters in the area in high school that ended up committing to CSI, like Chris and AJ Vigliotti. The list goes on and on.
Yeah.
It's
A lot
they
of
got older
bashers.
guys, a lot of kids that can hit, man. And
Yeah.
if you guys can figure out that pitching part of it, you guys are going
oh
to be
yeah,
dangerous
that's what
later
we talk
later in
about
the
all the
season.
time.
It's gonna be fun to watch.
Chris, are you going to be pitching anymore?
No, I'm done pitching.
No, yeah, no more pitching.
Yeah, I'm done. I was just a thrower. I was never a pitcher.
Okay,
People just put me on the mound because my arm, but I didn't like it at all.
don't like it all. Hey, listen, there's
Yes,
a lot.
it's a lot.
It's a lot to get into, and I always find it amazing at the college level and at high school level those that could be a two-way players and excel, and
Yeah,
it's
it's hard. It really is hard.
and that's what makes. And here's one of the questions I wanted to ask you to get to know you was like you think of Shohei Ohtani, who's a once in a generational talent right now, Chris,
Mhm.
right? Do you admire a guy like Shohei Ohtani, or who's your team? Who's your team in the major
Yankees,
leagues,
Yankees are
and
my team.
also any players that you kind of model your game after?
As a kid, my favorite player was always Mike Trout.
Trout.
He's always quick, twitchy, and played the game as hard as he can, no matter how good his team was. Because the Angels,
It's
and
true.
he was always someone I watched as a kid, and I still admire him to this day.
And I think you said it before, Chris. Not a big guy. He's not. He's brolic. Like
Yeah.
I've seen him in person. I mean, he's stocky and he's strong, but everything about him is small and compact and quick.
Yep.
Right? Like
Mhm.
he's like the king of fast twitch muscles.
Exactly. Yep.
Right? And
Yeah,
I
he's been
feel
like that for a while. I remember seeing Mike play in high school and even before high school at USA events. And to Chris's point and what you're talking about, Todd, it was very just simple, right?
yeah,
And I think that's a great comparison, Chris, to your swing. And you obviously identified that. It's very similar in terms of like once you're in that loaded position and you're ready to fire the barrel, it's a very quick movement.
yeah,
And I do remember your swing at LIU, and it was a bit long, and I'm so
Yep.
glad that you adjusted that, man,
Mhm.
because when you look at it now, it's pretty impressive. And if you keep
Yeah.
moving, keep getting stronger, you're gonna have a really, really great career as you end at CSI. But it was a great adjustment you made, and obviously helping Coach Leno and all the guys at CSI
sure.
really helped that. But that's a great comparison, the Mike Trout thing. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. And at the time of this recording, Trout has just hit 3 home runs in 3 games.
Mm.
So it's great to see him back. If you guys
Yeah.
guys who are watching big league ball on MLB Network and beyond, for
Todd, my
sure.
boy Logan O'Hoppe went deep a few times too, right behind him. So
Oh
I'm pretty
yeah.
happy about that. Logan
You,
O'Hoppe, the catcher at the Angels.
oh, you're familiar.
Yeah. I used to train when he was a kid, so
Oh, that's
he's
awesome.
good friends with Mike Trout and those guys. So
That's
he
great.
says that Mike Trout's a great dude, just an overall good human being, doesn't big league anyone, very humble. So that's a great comparison that you have, Chris.
Yeah.
Someone to
It's funny
model.
the day I hit 3 home runs, Judge did the same thing.
Oh, is that right?
Was it the
Yeah.
torpedo bat? Were you guys using
Oh,
the torpedo
jeez.
bat as well?
Oh, God, imagine. They're are they out with them in metal yet?
They're
Back
coming out,
then, they
dude. There's
used to
gonna
be
be
a
a
thing, right?
yeah. They're gonna come out with those definitely. There's a
Oh,
huge market for it, especially if the Yankees use it now. You're gonna see metal bats and aluminum bats coming out like that.
So Chris Squared, I'm familiar with it, and Chris Reyes and I, Chris, we texted about it. I was like, this is something we should have talked about. So I wasn't aware that they're only available in wood right now. Is that what you're saying, guys? The torpedo bats, that is.
I know.
Yeah.
I
So they've
seen.
they've. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Chris.
I seen something. I seen back then they used to have the old metal bats. Like some would be torpedo.
Oh, okay.
But I guess no one really paid attention to it. Sometimes I know they were a thing. They're not brand new right now.
Right.
But
Yeah,
Apparently, yeah.
it's been around for a while. I think it was more of like the training portion of
Okay.
hitting.
Okay.
okay,
But the concept is pretty simple if you think about it, right? Just
Yeah,
move
just
the
put
barrel down where all the contact points are, and you're gonna get a harder contact velocity, exit
right.
velocity, accuracy. Pretty simple concept if you think about it, right?
Yeah, it just seemed to trend for a couple days,
Yeah.
and they pulled the guy aside who I guess developed it or whatever, and guy went viral, and everyone wants
Yeah, and
Yankees
all
head.
these and all the the wood bat companies and the metal bat companies, they all ran with the attention, Todd. So
Yeah.
I'm sure all the young baseball players in the country and in the world are gonna jump on that, and mom and dad are gonna have to buy them torpedo bats, and all the nonsense continues. Let's put it that way.
But Chris P, you're not into the hype. You're not going to get yourself a torpedo bat anytime soon, right?
Unless I try one, I love it like the Yankees did, but I'll see.
Yeah, because when a Judge tried it, he didn't like it, right?
I'm not too familiar with what's going on with that bat. I
Yeah,
didn't pay much attention to it, but I know
interesting.
Judge Chisholm, Volpe, and I think Austin Wells is also using it too.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
something, Reyes. It's closer to the knob, the barrel.
Yeah, so what
This
the
feels
metrics was showing was like a lot of the contact points are like this way on the barrel.
okay.
And the scientist said if we just move the barrel closer to the contact points, we're going to get harder contact,
yeah,
right?
Makes
It's
sense.
pretty
Yeah.
pretty simple, genius idea. And
yeah,
like you said earlier, Chris, this is not a new thing. I just think it's going to make its way through baseball for the next few years,
yeah.
and we'll see. But at the end of the day, and I heard the Clemson coach say this, like it doesn't matter if you're holding Aaron Judge's bat or torpedo bat, you still have to make contact, right? You still have to time up
Hmm.
the pitch. You still need to identify certain spins and shapes. So that's all great that this thing is going to come out, young hitters, but you still have to work on hitting tremendously. As much as I'm sure Chris hits every day, you can put whatever bat in your hands that you want. You still have to be a good hitter and hand-eye coordination. So it's not just a magic pill. Let's put it that way.
Right. And Chris P, we have plenty of season left, my friend. What are we looking forward to? What are we working on as an individual? You had already mentioned as a team, pitching is a
Hmm.
big deal, and getting that at a spot where we can be continuously competitive at a Division 2 level, which my goodness is up there now. So, what are you looking forward to improving this season, Chris, and looking forward to with the team and Coach Morrow?
I'm very excited with this team this year. How we turned it around. This would be the first time that we make the playoffs at Division 2, and I'm damn sure it's gonna happen because there's no one. We're playing Bentley this weekend, and they're supposed to be number 2 in the region. And I still think we got them. That's the confidence that we have right now.
It's great.
That's good.
But as an individual, as a team, we just have to work on continuing to score runs, no matter the score,
Okay.
because some teams in this conference plat, just rake. They rake.
Okay.
We were down 10-1 against Mercy
Right.
in that second 9 in the game, and they came back. So that's one thing we're emphasizing to never take the pedal off the gas. But as an individual, I'm working on just two-strike approach right now. I'm struggling a little bit with striking out too much, just because I'm a threat to the lineup, and some coaches just figure out ways to maneuver around me and make me chase and get out of my comfort zone. So the one thing I'm working on right now is just seeing spin early, breaking balls early, because I
Okay.
get over aggressive sometimes in hitters counts, and they're starting to learn that. So
Chris,
I'm just
if you had a little piece of advice for, let's say, Chris Polemeni when you were 10 years old, or little Johnny from down the street that's 10, from a hitting perspective, right? What would you say to that person, yourself, or this kid, um, that could make them a better hitter that has really nothing to do with equipment, right? I need this
Mhm.
batting glove or bat, more like an approach standpoint for that young hitter.
Yep. I'll tell him it starts before you even get in the box. Severio, this is another thing. He got us into visualization,
Mm-hmm.
seeing what you want to do in your head before you get up to the box. If
Love
you're
that.
thinking about striking out, you're going to strike out. If you're thinking about popping up, you're going to pop up. And what I do before my at bat, I visualize a line drive through the middle of the field, and I think about just making hard contact on the ground or through the middle of the field. I don't think about hitting home runs, nothing. I just think because all my home runs are going to be accidental, and young kids should know that
Mm-hmm.
that a
That's great
hard line
advice,
drive will
Chris.
turn into a home run. And just be aggressive. Don't let that pitch that you want go past you because you're overthinking in your head or whatever. But yeah, time the pitcher up before you get in the box, and just visualize what you want to do before you get in there.
That's awesome, man. You just saved parents a lot of money with lessons and
Yeah.
online training. You heard it from Chris Polemeni. It's not that hard, guys. Keep it simple, keep it fun. That's awesome.
Have a game plan. It sounds like Chris, right?
Yep.
And go up there with an aggressive approach and be confident. That's one thing I like you said there. Go up there with no. I'm going to the gap.
Yeah,
All
that's a
that,
great point, Todd,
you know.
because I get to work with young hitters and I have some kids, there's some really good hitters on Staten Island, or let me reword that, really good swings on Staten Island, New York City, New Jersey, and the confidence is what they're lacking, Chris, right? They're
Yeah.
not having fun in the box. They're not going up there with an approach looking for certain pitches. And if a kid is listening to this, that concept of just being confident in the box can make your swing look so much better. Having fun. I guess let's go to one more question, Todd, because I know we want to wrap up soon. But Chris,
Yeah.
how much fun do you have hitting? How
I
fun
love
is
it.
hitting to you? Can you explain that to some of the young viewers?
I love hitting, and I get in times you'll be miserable up there because you don't know what's going on with yourself. But once you break that and realize that it's just a game and you're just playing baseball, and it should be fun when you're in the box, that's when your whole game changes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would agree, man. I haven't been in game hitting in a while, but I remember when I was having fun, I was clear, I was grateful to be there. I was in the moment in the box. That's when typically I had my best success.
Yep.
Nice.
And
Uh,
another thing I keep saying, talking about Severio, but he put so much knowledge into us this year, mentally and physically. But he would always say, "You go, your," and Morrow says it too. You're 0 for 0 every at bat.
Yeah.
Before the at bat, you're 0 for 0 that at bat. So you go 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. That next at bat, you're still 0 for 0. So Severio tells us that the game will always come back and find you and give you your chance again. So
hmm,
he says if you go 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts, you got to forget about it. You got to go back to that third one, and you can't dwell on it at all. Once you start dwelling and thinking about what you did the 2 at bats before, then that's when you'll lost the whole game, and you're gonna look back and be 0 for 6, and you won't even realize.
and Chris, you may not realize this, right? Because you're young yet, but that's life too, bro.
Oh,
That's
for sure,
literally
yeah,
that's life stuff right there. That's wisdom, dude. Severia,
yeah,
that's awesome. Chris, that's great. If we can live by that, man, we'll be really good men in this community and just overall just in life.
Chris, it sounds like you have some great mentors, some great coaches, and Morrow and Leno, had Coach Bobby, and everyone that you're surrounded by now, all leading to your success thus far. So, with that, Chris, thank you for sharing some wisdom, not just about the game of baseball, but also life itself. And congrats on your success this far. The Player of the Week last week had a great doubleheader at Mercy on Thursday, with another big conference matchup coming up this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, let's thank Chris Polemeni for joining us. He's a sophomore outfielder at CSI. We appreciate the time and good luck the rest of the season, my friend.
of course. Thank you guys a
We
lot. It was
appreciate you,
great.
Chris. Have a great season, all right, bud? I'll see
Yeah,
you out there.
All right. All right, Chris, we appreciate his time. And as always, I appreciate your time, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Wow, what a wealth of information and knowledge and everything. I mean, he's just fantastic.
You know what I like about him, Todd, is he's been through some tough times in life and he's a mature kid and he puts life into perspective and he puts the game into perspective, which you don't see nowadays very often, Todd.
Yeah,
I've seen some college kids that are just all over the place and just a mess. And that's not Chris. That's not his family. And I'm really proud to see where he's grown to. And I'm really happy that he's having a great season and he's progressing into the year with great momentum. But it's a pleasure to have Chris on the show. And
yeah.
as always, it's CSI always puts the importance of being a good person first. And you could see it firsthand with Chris.
And when we talked to Coach Morrow, he was all about that, right, Chris? It's about the human being and these men first and developing good men, being well rounded individuals. And then the play on the field is the play on the field.
That's
And you
right.
got a guy like Chris who has a great approach to the plate. My goodness, what a group he's got over there, Coach Morrow. They had a great bout versus Mercy, got another conference play this weekend, like we said. But this was cool. That was some good, tough talk, Chris Reyes.
Love the tough talk, Todd. Let's get it, baby.
All right, guys. Once again, Todd Bivona, Chris Reyes, Tough Media, we thank you. Metro United Sports Unlimited, a New York State 501c3 nonprofit, united through sports. This was Tough Talk. Thank you for watching or listening. Be sure to like us on all the social media channels. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. You know the deal. Check out our website. We have plenty of content coming up throughout this baseball season, and looking forward to staying in touch with guys like Chris.